Hi, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are on this wonderful earth of ours. I'm Dr. Michael Everest, founder, chairman, and chief academic officer at Residence Medical Group. What we do here is we are an organization that helps prepare, educate, and eventually integrate our medical students and candidates into a residency program where they can prove themselves and hopefully transition into medical residency or fellowship. Today, I would like to introduce a very special guest of ours, Dr. Kilgore. He's very dear to my heart as when I met him, he comes from a family of doctors as I do. And when I met him, he was at a crossroads in his life. And it was a very, very good feeling because I'm not a mystic or a soothsayer, but I envisioned him as a superstar. He just needed to catch a break. He was willing to put in the hard work. He was willing to show up when he didn't want to show up. And when he was there, when he's at the program, he was a superstar, which I envisioned him to be. And that's what we do at Residence Medical. It's not a magic potion that we have. What we do is we identify certain doctors, medical school graduates, or students that have this passion and dream. They just need a door open for them to prove themselves. And that's really what we do is integrate them into a program and they prove themselves. And if they, on their own merit, are able to achieve a medical residency or fellowship, then we have joyous moments like this. Dr. Kilgore is a US grad, and he is just really an individual that has warmed our heart, and he is going to be a great service to humanity. We also have Dr. Frontel. She's probably doing her morning rounds and stuff. She'll join us shortly. And we're going to have a conversation today about what you do if you did not match an NRMP match, did not do the supplemental soap, or what we used to call in the old days a scramble. And now is the time in the business of graduate medical education that's called post match. The dust has settled, the storm is gone. Over 8,000 combined applicants did not achieve medical residency, which is really an anomaly because we have such a doctor shortage. So, what do we do now? You're here, you haven't matched, you've seen everyone with their sign, I've matched. And what does one do now? Well, we're going to give you some insight, we're going to give you some firsthand knowledge, and we're going to give you motivation and discipline on what to do next and how to succeed. Year after year, there have been thousands of applicants globally that do not achieve their residency. This year, we've helped people that have become registered nurses, physician's assistants, because they gave up on the dream of helping humanity as an MD or DO. So, how do we overcome that? Is one by one, identifying the individual and really having a scope and a sphere of influence where we believe in our candidates. We believe in medicine. We believe in the good that people want to do. They just need to catch a break. And such a story is Dr. Kilgore. Dr. Kilgore is really, as I said, and I'll echo again, dear to the residence medical family's heart. So, without further ado, Dr. Kilgore, if you would speak a little about your journey and what kept you going, and how hard you had to work when residence medical sent you, and how you had to prove yourself and the politics therein, and a little about your journey and what you'd like to share kindly. And thank you for doing this, by the
Yes,
way.
yes, absolutely. And good morning, and thank you, Dr. Everest. Thank you for having me this morning. Um, yes, as you mentioned, I was at a crossroads in my life. I really I had some setbacks in medical school towards the end, and mostly related to uh, the passing of step two. Um, both portions of step two actually, and I had some personal things going on in my life. We all have personal things going on in our lives, but these particular ones were just very distracting to me completing my medical education. And so there was a time gap. And then, of course, there were uh, attempts on my step two. And so then when I went through the match the first time, I was able to get a few interviews, but did not match. And I thought, well, I've obviously got to do something, right, to improve my chances. And so I said, well, I need to study for step three. And so I went ahead and I took step three, and I got involved with some research, although it wasn't the ideal research for what I wanted to do. But nevertheless, I did that, and I felt better about it, and I got many more interviews the second time. Still, I went unmatched. And after that, I thought, I'm running out of options. There's really nothing else, at least off the top of my head, that I can think to do. I'm going to need a big play here. It's going to have to be something big. I mean, whenever you've now gone through the match twice and have been unsuccessful, that's a pretty that's a pretty strong indicator for what the future holds. So uh, I started looking online. I found you guys, and I contacted you, and then after that, it kind of seemed just like my life just kind of fell into place. The opportunities that I needed were there for me, and I was ready to work. You guys found me an opportunity which I had no idea about until you showed me, and I went there. I had to move, but I went there and I worked really, really hard, and I've now matched into internal medicine, which is what I've always wanted. I was told that that wasn't going to be a reality, but now it is, and so I'm eternally grateful to you guys. It's just amazing.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Kilgore. Thank you for your gratitude and your hard work. We can't do it without you. We can open the door. And yeah, it becomes challenging because what has happened is through the application, it's become like a car business. You're not an individual anymore. You don't get a chance to explain the obstacles that you had to overcome because the sheer competition is too much. You have a program, they're talking 8 spots with 6,000 applicants. They have a filtration
Right.
system. So how do you penetrate that?
Mm.
Well, what you do is you go and you integrate in a program and you prove yourself so that you are now judged by your merits in real time. And that's really what the magic red pill is, if you will, is getting past those humps. And what I really respect of individuals like you, and we helped 30, 40 people this year, is that you never give up. You're resourceful. And as a physician, that is very, very important because there'll come times where you come against a case and it's a first up. What do? You don't give up. Oh, well, let me just pass them to the specialist. You live. This becomes a living organism. And your residency became a living organism that you had to feed, either positive or negative. And during those dark hours, you didn't give up. And like you said, I like that. I like that metaphor that you had to make a big play. And that's what it is. You go and you lay it all on the line. And then coming from there, that's what makes things happen. And at the end of the day, uh, explain a little about what your day to day proving yourself interaction was.
Absolutely. So the opportunity that at least my opportunity that I had was to work as a sub intern for an internal medicine residency. And so really what that is, you know what a medical student does. They follow the residents. The residents show them this is how you write a note. This is how you use the EMR. This is how you see this type of patient. Um, and it was like that, but because I had graduated and I had already done my rotations and all of that. The title is sub intern, so it's more like an intern, but not quite, obviously, because you're not part of a residency. So I worked along with the residents, and the first few weeks, it felt more like I was a medical student. They were teaching me a lot, uh, kind of the same things that they would teach medical students, and medical students were rotating through. But after a few weeks, I noticed that it didn't feel like a medical student's job anymore. I felt more like I was doing the job of a resident, and I was. And so the residents came to trust and rely on me because I was there every day. Um, and I was there as much or more than any of the residents there. And then after a period of weeks and weeks, I mean, months, uh, it just became kind of a feeling that this is where I belonged. And I started feeling better about having an opportunity to be part of a program. And as it turns out, this is the program that I matched with. So it's really amazing that, you know, on paper you see one thing, and then you see somebody every day, day after day after day, and all of a sudden it's like, I already know this guy. I know what that he's reliable. I know what kind of work he can do. I know his demeanor. So you're not so interested in the paper anymore. But then on top of that, Residence Medical made all my papers beautiful and revitalized those as well. So really, I was just, especially in terms of the specific program that I was able to work at, I was just a much, much better applicant.
Yeah, and that's really, thank you for that, Dr. Kilgore. And that's really the key, is going there and proving yourself, because you start having coffee with these folks. The first face they see is yours, the last face, and they depend on you. And in the hierarchy of graduate medical education, medical residency, and medicine, right? If you go and humble yourself and prove yourself, then it's like you said, the application is the past, but in the present, you've overcame all that, and you go and prove yourself. And that's really the important factor. There's some people that we send and they don't prove themselves, but we get them to that start line where they
Right.
now have the same shoes as the other sub intern, and they have the same type of training as the other sub interns. Now, what are you going to do with that training? You're going to go take it. So when it becomes showtime, are you ready to, hit a grand slam? You can't play small ball when you're going to prove yourself. Every day, you have to be that superstar that they depend on. And the way we choose the locations are, there's certain states where you can actually do a hands-on experience, and that's really the way that under pressure, especially during this COVID era, right? There's times where you had peaks and valleys, and in those peaks, when they depended on Dr. Kilgore and knowing that he's not going to go in the corner or take an extra long lunch break right there in the trenches, that has its weight in gold. And that's really
Right.
what we are talking about, is putting our individuals, our candidates, our students in an environment where they have to roll up their sleeves, not sit as a potted plant in the background, just standing. And then it's up to you to prove yourself. So now it's, what do you do now that this webinar is called Post Match Strategies? What do you do now? You have about 5 months until Eris opens up officially, to give or take, where you start applying to programs. There's thousands that didn't match this year, thousands that didn't match the year before, and so on and so forth. So you have a compound of supply and demand.
Mhm.
What you do now in these 5 months is you don't waste any time. You don't sit still. You don't feel sorry for yourself. You don't have the dreaded gap in your CV. You go and you get clinical experience that's hands on. You get into a research program that is involved in a residency program, teaching hospitals, whether there's community based or whether they're university based. You get involved with the decision makers. If you are an IMG, or even if you're a US grad, and you go to Washington University in St. Louis and start doing research. You may not get there because of they have their medical students and such, but those phone calls, those letter of recommendations will help you during the application time. And they'll pick up the phone and call it and lobby on your behalf if you've proven yourself. So you integrate yourself and you get advocates on your side. And getting an advocate on your side is very important because people want to help people in our business. That's our whole really core of existence, to help humanity. So if they see somebody that's working hard, and if they see somebody that's really, really able to be part of the family, what I have my program director friends say, and I think if Dr. Frantella doesn't come on because of morning rounds or whatever, we'll get somebody to sub in, is that you have to be dependable and you have to be in a position where you show your worth now. Keep your chin up, chest out. Don't worry about the past. Believe in yourself, believe in your destiny, and doors will open. Integrate yourself into a program. If you can't, we can help you. Try on your own if you'd like. This is not a sales pitch. I'm just giving free advice on what to do. Make sure your documents are right. Your heiress looks nice. Your personal statement looks nice. Where you're at, make sure you get letter of recommendations. You can't have on your CV, I've been doing even an observership for 4 months, but the individual hasn't written you a letter of recommendation. And what have you been doing for 4 months? Haven't proven yourself? So this is a time to regroup during post match. And there's also what's called off track positions and post match positions. At Residence Medical, we've been helping our candidates achieve post match. This week, I think we've helped two. Next week, hopefully, we'll help more. You find positions where someone could have had a health issue that came up, or a program is expanding, and you apply. But they're going to ask, "What are you doing now?" Well, I'm sitting at home watching Dr. Phil. That's not going to work, right? What you do is, well, I'm doing a sub intern at such and such. The program director is going to call. These are ways to get yourself in the game where they see, okay, this person is not giving up. And also, a program looks at one person, at the individual, at the applicant during an
Mhm.
interview and sees, can I see this person interacting with my patients? Can I see this person interacting with my attendings with me? And that's the caveat that you have to work on, communication skills, interpersonal communication skills. Someone like Dr. Kilgore is a superstar. He didn't have to worry about that much. But a lot of people, it comes up shy. They just culturally, or just what they've been through in life. So there's so much work to do in a few short months. You can't feel sorry for yourself. Get out there. Do not have a
Mhm.
gap in your CV, and just get out there and show that you are persistent, because people want, in our business of medical education and graduate medical education, people want consistency, dependability, and they want independent thinkers. And if you don't give up, there'll be somebody that catches you, and that
Mhm.
will believe in you. You got to be at the right place at the right time. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Kilgore?
Absolutely, I agree. And without residence medical, I'm not quite sure I could have made the right place at the right time actually happen. Um, but one of the things that I really appreciated about residence medical was, you know, you kind of gave me options from the very beginning. You said, of course, this is what specialty you want. Okay. We also discussed, other specialties. And there were, you guys actually said, okay, well, it seems that there's an opportunity here, and it seems like there may be one over here. How do you feel? Where, if you had to choose, which would it be? And so the whole time I felt like, you guys didn't just feed me an option and say, okay, well, get to work. It was more of, how do you feel? Is this something that motivates you? And so the fact that I ended up somewhere that I was really happy, and just having the opportunity, uh, and feeling that my work was going to matter, really just gave me so much motivation to do the best that I possibly could. And I noticed when I was showing up for work every day, I wasn't feeling this sense of dread of this work. It's all for nothing. Uh, I've been working for years, and what do I have to show for it? It's this is my time. This is my time to show them, and I can do it.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Kilgore. We'll continue the conversation. Dr. Frontella, program director, is going to come in. She's going to be on the phone because she's in the hospital, and you have all these, rules and regulations. So she's going to tap in, and then we'll continue the conversation. I want to ask you a couple more questions, and then what we will do is, hi, go ahead. Yes.
We have Dr. Frontella.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Sorry
Dr.
for the
Frontella. It's
problem.
Dr. Everest. We're doing this? An island in the Bahamas style on the phone, but it's good. I like impromptu. Can everyone hear us on streaming? Can you hear us, Dr. Kilgore? Can you hear Dr. Frontella?
Yes, yes, I
Okay.
can.
Hi, Dr. Frontella. So we're speaking with Dr. Kilgore. He's talking about really how you get it's important to prove yourself to a program director and to a program that they will mesh well with the attendings, with the residents. What advice do you have, Dr. Frontella, during this post-match time for students that did not match? How they can continue to move forward and build their CV? Would you kindly give some advice on that?
Yeah, the problem is post match is very hard. Take the position
Yes.
because in my
Oops. We lost you there. We lost you there. We lost you there. Sorry. You know what we're going to do? We're going to get Dr. Dang. So Dr. Frontell is a little busy right now, but we have enough knowledge there. Get Dr. Dang on his computer, please. I'd like him to get on. So what we're going to do is we're going to also introduce you to an individual who's a St. George University graduate. He's our senior residency specialist counselor, and he's going to talk about a little about what he has to do to overcome his obstacles. He's doing an internship with me, and hopefully he will articulate into residency. But what we are going to do is we are going to talk to him a little bit. And I apologize about Dr. Frontel. She's just really busy right now in the hospital, and that's part of just how medicine is. So he'll get on and he'll talk, and then we'll just continue with Dr. Kilgore. And this is like another type of scenario that when you're in a hospital, how are you going to deal with a situation that goes a little bit not how it's planned? You just move on, you're calm, and you learn from everything. So I have my general here, Dr. Kilgore. As we were saying, the as Dr. Frontello was saying, post match is hard, but we're not talking about landing really a residency in post match. What we're talking about post match is for you to integrate yourself for the upcoming season, and that's really what we want to do, and what direction we want to move in. Yes, residence medical has post match opportunities, but we're not going to just pick you up off the street and say, okay, here's an opportunity. You have to go integrate, prove yourself, because that's how we keep our reputation on the line and up in the sky, if you will, is by making sure that the student candidate proves themselves. And that's really the $1 million formula for us, if you will. So, in saying that, so Dr. Kilgore, what do you think as far as, let's say, an observership versus a hands-on? How do you deal interpersonally with the politics of a residency program and how all of that works? Because you're going there and you're an MD, and people may not be treating you well in the beginning. That's just how life is. They're busy. How do you deal with the politics and not giving up on the day to day?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but
Yes.
I believe that, for at least for me, um, there were times where we're all human, and there were times where I felt um, like maybe I wasn't being respected on an equal level with others that I worked with. But what I had prepared myself to do was when I had thoughts like that to immediately push them out of my mind, because that is something that would only slow me down.
Yes.
Um, you might have an intern who um, is fresh out of medical school, and I might say my brain might say, this guy, he's treating me like I'm a subordinate person and everything. And well, he hasn't, he hasn't had more training than me, he just, and then I'm like, no, this is not the type of thinking that's going to get me anywhere. What I need to be thinking is, how can I help this person? How
Yes.
can I make this person's day easier? How can I make this person's job easier? And the person next to me on this side too. And, um, just constantly be looking for ways to help the team have a better day, for the service to run more smoothly. And if you do that, even if it's just a little bit each day, that you make the workload a little less over a period of time, everyone is going to come to realize that this guy, we want him to be there.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I really, the power of the mind, what we teach here at Residence Medical is emotional stability and maturity as one of our core competencies, ability to function in a variety of settings, and sound judgment, because your mind will play tricks on you. And I really respect the fact that you went in there and you had the right mentality, because you're going to have bad days. We're human. I tell my staff, I go, look, you're going to come in here and the whole day may be a complete disaster. You don't give up, because tomorrow's a new day. And you learn
Sure.
from that. You go and you analyze. And that's what it is in medicine. It's really a process of change and growth, and you're learning. That's why it's called training. And also, the important thing is you want to get all those jitters out of the way, because it's I use a lot of baseball analogies, right? So
Hmm.
Dr. Kilgore, for the last year or so, he's been grounding these. He's been fielding these ground balls. If they hop a certain way, he knows what to do. If they roll a certain way, he knows what to do. To where it becomes mechanical. You grab it and you throw it. You don't think about it. If you sit there and start thinking about it too much, the ball a lot of the times is going to hit you in the face. So the point is to practice so much, so where it becomes mechanical, because now a hospital is paying you. It is showtime, right? There's no do-overs, because now the pressure is even more so. So
Right.
that's really the advice of really gold that Dr. Kilgore is giving. So what I'd also like to do now is, because Dr. Frontella got really busy at the hospital, I'd like to introduce Dr. Dang. Dr. Dang is very special to me. I brought him on board. He's my senior residency specialist counselor. Dr. Kilgore's was my VP, Miss Aula. And he has had struggles for years. He has attempts. Went to a top Caribbean school. But I'd like for you, Dr. Dang, to talk about a success story this year and what you've learned on the importance of really giving somebody a chance to go prove themselves. So give us about 5 minutes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to answer some questions and have some closing, and we'll go on our way. And we're going to make sure we're going to fly Dr. Frontella out here next time, because she's sitting next to me. So there's no internet stuff. So stay tuned for that. Maybe the next webinar will be there. So talk a little, Dr. Dang, and share us a story, a success story that really touched your heart this year, and what you are doing as of April 6, 2022, to help your students, and how um, what motivates you to keep going and not giving up and wanting to be a medical resident, which hopefully you'll be after your internship.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Everest, for this opportunity. This is such a pleasure to be able to help someone like myself. I went through the struggles, me having to apply to the ESFMG many times, gone through the interviews. It's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of pain, but you know what? After when you get matched, it's such an amazing. And I can definitely share one doctor that I can always remember deep with my heart. She got matched into a general surgery categorical position at a very well known hospital, very prestigious hospital in New York. When she came to us, we integrated her. We placed her into a research to residency. She went there, did some research, connected with the resident. They told her in the beginning, you know, that we don't need real research here. You come in, you join, but she first got there. She worked very hard. The residents weren't too acceptance of her, and then I told her, you know what, just prove. Don't worry about what they say. You go in there, you work hard, you prove yourself, and then you prove to them that you can do it. So she ended up taking the advice from Dr. Evans, the whole team, and myself. She went in there, whatever they told her, she can't do this, you can't do that. She went in there, she worked from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 at night, 12 hours a day, 7 days of work. She proved herself, she did the research. She went there and she asked for help. You know what? Let me help you with your research opportunity. Let me publish. Let me do your clinical. Let me see your patient. Whatever they wanted to do, she's always on there 24/7. And we always emphasize and tell her, you work hard, but you work with the heart. And that's exactly what she did. And on March 14, when she called us, she goes, Dr. Dang, oh my God, I get matched. This is, you're talking about general surgery categorical position. She got matched to one of the most prestigious hospital in New York for general surgery in a category positions, and we were so proud of her, and it's just an amazing, and she's accomplished so much. And it's reminded me at applying, but helping someone to achieve the residency and to achieve the a lifelong dream. It's like you work so hard, and finally you're there, and it's just an amazing experience, and I can't express how enough how wonderful, and it was such an honor to do what we do here, and just really amazing.
So,
And
what
thank
advice
you.
can you give, Dr. Dang? I know you speak to a lot of
My
people that reach out to us. What advice do you give people when they're downtrodden? Because look, we have really two types of students: students that come and they just need a pick me up on their CV, and they can't seem to get an externship, and they can't seem to integrate into a research, and they go and they really just improve their CV. They're a medical student in third or fourth year, maybe going to an international school, or even a U.S. school these days. Rotations are very hard.
Yeah.
But the people that are really downtrodden, those 8 or 9,000 people that maybe have a year or two, or even more so, that they haven't achieved residency, they've spent all this money on this match, and they'll stare at the screen, and you haven't matched. What do you do? Life's a disaster. What do you do to motivate them now? Give us the cliff notes, the 30 seconds, and then what we're going to do is answer some questions
Sure.
because this is about pushing forward and motivating people to get to the next part of their journey, not give up. Because if you don't show up, nothing will happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And thank you for that. That's a wonderful question, Dr. Evans. My biggest advice to everyone is don't give up. Never give up. And I remember me going through the struggles. I always find quotes, an inspirational quote. And one of the biggest things that I found was, at times there's always struggles. I always wanted to give up during along the way. I apply, I can't get in, interview didn't go well. There's always loan. But there's one thing that give me hope, that keep me going and give me this hope. It's about hope. So never ever give up. Give up hope and never give up. Once you give up, you will fail. You will lose the battle. Keep
Yeah, no.
going. Don't give up.
Thank you for that. So we have a question, and maybe Dr. Kilgore, you will you've already answered it, but just concisely, if you would kindly, we have a student that's asking, how do I overcome red flags? I don't know what the red flags are, but how do you overcome red flags? In this case, let's just say it's um, it's attempts on your USMLE. What recommendation do you have now that you're a PGY1 categorical resident? and you're going to be part of the committee soon that's going to be interviewing these kids that come. So how do you the question goes on to say, how do you overcome red flags like an old YOG, year of graduation? What do you recommend in that predicament?
Well, I believe that it really depends on the red flag, but in general, I think that it's, the old saying, show, don't tell. So in my case, um, my red flag was time gaps, and I believe people just kind of, well, I had more than one red flag, let's be honest, but one of them being that I had time gaps. And it's just very difficult when you only have 30 minutes during an interview, um, or another short interaction with a program director, or something like that, to show that that you are a person that is reliable, and will show up. And then you aren't somebody that just one day, where is he, um, but I, in my case, I was given the opportunity to show up and show up and show up and show up and show up. And then all of a sudden, that red flag, talking about this specific one, they see it, but then it doesn't mean anything to them because they've already seen that it's not an issue.
Exactly.
Um, and the same may be said with, you have attempts on, let's say, step two. Let's say, it took you 3 attempts to pass step two. Well, then pass step three on the first time.
Right.
Show them that whatever it was, it's no longer an issue by literally demonstrating it. And you guys are great about that because you literally coach us and you show us this is what needs to be done. You're there every day. You're sending emails. You're calling. You're making sure we're on track. And you are literally a coach, uh, for all of us, and it's very highly specific to
Yes.
each applicant. So it's very wonderful.
No, thank you for that, Dr. Kilgore. I mean, that's coming straight from, like they say, the horse's mouth that's been through it. So there was a question from an audience member, Dr. Ahmad. What does one do if they have a gap in their medical school? I guess his was basic sciences and clinical. So you have to explain it. I'll answer that. You have to explain that in your personal statement. One of the biggest detriments is when they start seeing in that dean's letter that there's something fishy, whether you change medical schools or you had a delay in graduation. So you confront that head on. Remember, you can get away with a little bit when you're in your early 20s in medical school if you have a viable explanation. If you had a terrible tragedy at home or you were going through something emotionally at home, with whatever the case may be. We live in a flawed world and things happen. And or some in the Caribbean schools, many of the smaller schools, they just don't have the rotations available. So that therefore you have to have a gap, transfer to schools. Have an explanation and own up to it. And if you just couldn't cut the mustard in year one or year two, and you had to remediate, admit it. Don't go and start candy coating it and blaming the school or blaming the dean or blaming the weather on every Thursday in April. Say, look, this is what it is, but this is what I am doing to fix it. I have learned from it, and I am moving forward, and this is how I am a better candidate, and this is my process of change and growth. People love to see improvement, and especially if you can go every day there and integrate and prove yourself. So it is a big obstacle, but at the end of the day, it's not impossible if you have a good explanation and if you're willing to change. Everyone wants to believe in an underdog that we deal with. There's elitists and there's people that they wear this and that. But you stay away from that energy, right? Because for every person that doesn't want to help you, there's a person around the corner that does want to help you if you want to help yourself.
That's
Thank you.
right.
So we're going to have one more question. Um, Sheila, you can ask it off camera, and then I'll have Dr. Dang answer that, and then we'll close up. And what you can do is go on our live chat after this or call the office, and we'll have some counselors on standby to answer any questions. And we'll also have a recording of this that will blast if your email is in our database. Oh, you're very welcome, Dr. Ahmed. So go ahead, Ms. Sheila.
Sure. So we have a question that says, I'm a 2017 graduate with 3 years of clinical experience in a non-US country afterwards. I moved to the US but have not been able to work here. I do telemedicine consultations currently from my home country. Would this be considered as clinical experience or a gap slash red flag?
Go ahead, Dr. Dang. You take a crack
Sure,
at that, and then I'll help
sure.
expand on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for that question, Dr. Ruth. That's a wonderful question, being 2017. Your clinical experience is great. I mean, even though you're doing telemedicines, it's somewhat of a experience. But in the U.S., in order to have a clinical experience, meaning if put yourself in a program director will want you a resident who is actually, especially if you're a foreign medical doctor or international medical doctor, they want you here at an ACGME accredited hospital. You should be able to be in a clinic, in a big hospital, seeing patient, writing note, doing physical exam. You should be able to go to the ER, do a consultation. So to really have a U.S. clinical experience, meaning that you this best and is defined as having yourself to be in the hospital doing note, seeing patient, doing physical exam, doing consultations. That's how we define a U.S. clinical experience. Telehealth medicine is it's somewhat clinical, but not really a clinical U.S. clinical experience. Also, observership is not really a U.S. clinical experience. You get clinical experience, but not the one that we really define as a U.S. clinical. A true U.S. clinical experience, it should be at a ACGME accredited hospital, like what we do is we put all our candidates in a ACGME residency training hospital. So that's what truly a U.S. clinical experience is, Dr. Evans.
Yeah, see, look, this is the long and short of it. You got to have US clinical experience. What you're doing now is fine and great, but I was just talking to a DIO. Those are the head honchos above the program director just yesterday. And what he was saying is, look, doc, the problem with the older graduates and the problem with people that don't have, forget 3 months, 6, 9 months, a year, or have gaps in their insurances, they just can't integrate properly. I have to remediate them. I have to have somebody hold their hand for a while. Some of them don't take their step three, but you can overcome that if you're day in, day out in a US healthcare system and in a hospital. So, clinical experience, especially in this day and age, you're talking over 8,000 people that did not achieve medical residency. So, how are you going to differentiate yourself? You have to have hands on US clinical experience. Very difficult to get, but it is attainable. You can call us and we can help you with that. But at the end of the day, that's what matters. A program does not want to have to invest more time. These program directors, these residents, these attendings are all overworked, especially during this COVID era. They don't want to have to remediate somebody because they're falling behind. And just to go on a side tangent, that is why step three, this answers someone else's question. Step three is very important. It's almost mandatory for an IMG. Forget about what the rules and regulations say. You can take it during the first year, second year. As Dr. Kilgore did, he took that step three. You get it out of the way first, you're saving yourself a lot of headache because you don't have time in residency. You have to
Yeah.
prepare for, let's say, if it's for internal medicine, you have to prepare for an in training service exam. You have to work as a resident. You have to do presentations. You're not going to have time for step three. And you don't want to ask the program director for a month off to go study for step three. You don't want to fail during residency. So, all of these things, clinical is important. What you want to prove yourself is that you're not going to be a detriment or a liability to the program. You're not going to fall behind or slow down the program. This thing moves and it moves and it moves. So get US experience, complete your step three. What we also do is have our candidates, whether it's for general surgery, we have them take the AB site even before residency, or internal medicine, we have them take the ITE. So, okay, you have attempts on your step two. You have a low score to step one. Your step three, you passed by uh, chinny chin chinny your skin. So what do? Well, you prepare for ITE. Look, I got a 70% on my ITE. So that indicates I'm going to pass boards. You show a forward progression, and creativity is always helpful. So I hope these questions were well answered. We're going to close. I kindly ask, and at first, I thank you for your time, Dr. Kilgore. I really, it speaks great of your character and your pedigree that you spend time and pay it forward, because there's a lot of people that are out there that are hurting, and I'm sure that you
Yeah.
motivated and you inspired a lot of people. So from the bottom of my heart, and Miss Sheila, thanks you too. And we're here for you. Look, throughout this process, we're still going to be um, speaking to the program, talking, talking, talking you up because you deserve it. And when you're ready for a fellowship, we'll help guide you there too. You're part of our family because we were together with each other during the darkest hour, so we can enjoy the sunlight too, like they say.
Thank you, Dr. Everest. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much. And Dr. Day, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, one last thing is the this just I know everybody's going through a struggles. Just a reminder, never to give up. Just push forward, move forward. Whatever happened today is just it's a temporary thing. If you move forward, you will achieve your goal. If you have any
Great.
questions, contact us anytime. I'll be glad to help. And don't give up. We're here for you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And Dr.
Absolutely.
Frontella, we're sorry we missed you today, but we're going to fly you out now, so we don't have an issue anymore. But thank you for your consideration, and thank you for trying to improvise, Dr. Frontella. She's a wonderful program director, and she cares about these students. She's an inspirational story in herself as an IMG and as a program director. Thank you for your valuable time, gentlemen, and have a happy holidays, happy Good Friday, happy Passover, and all that good stuff. Happy Ramadan to all you people. It's an all-in-one in April this year. So be well, and Residence Medical is here for you, and we're happy to build tomorrow's doctors today. Perfect example, Dr. Kilgore. Thank you. Signing off.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
everyone.
Everest.
Have a wonderful day.